Hello, welcome to episode 28 of Made with Carleanergy. I'm Carlene and this is my knitting podcast. If you'd like to find me elsewhere, I am Carleanergy on Ravelry and Instagram. And I do have a Ravelry group if you search Made with Carleanergy in the group section, where I'm trying to start posting my episodes again and put some show notes up for you. So you can find show notes over there. And it is a nice sunny day here in Pine Beach, New Jersey. It's Tuesday, February 13th, 2018, and I'm really glad you came by to spend some time with me and see what I've been up to. Hello to all my returning viewers, and welcome if you are joining in for the first time. I appreciate it. Let's see. It's been, I think, 2 weeks since I last recorded, so I am a little late in my typical fashion. And I did have a very exciting week last week, so that was partly the reason why I didn't get a chance to record. And so I have some very kind of big, exciting news to announce later in the episode, but I'm going to try to contain my excitement for a little bit and get some other things, get through some other things first. So stay tuned for that. But first things first, I do need to announce the giveaway winner for the giveaway prize that I showed in my last episode. So the very kind and lovely Catherine of Bed of Roses on Etsy and also Bed of Roses on Instagram. I had made an order with her for this necklace actually, my stitch marker Progress Keeper necklace, and she kindly sent me some giveaway prizes for my podcast. So I had this to give away. This is a needle cozy and stitch marker set from Bed of Roses. And Catherine messaged me actually to let me know that one of these Progress Keepers does have a lava bead on it. Yeah, that one there, that big black one, the top bead there. So that's one of those ones that you can add drops of essential oil to, and it will hold in the scent and be a really lovely part of your knitting experience. So thank you, Catherine. Her details like that are just so spot on. So yeah, this beautiful kind of gingham fabric and this one. And so I had asked on my last episode for you to leave me a comment just telling me what your goals were for the year, whether it was crafting goals, learning new skills, making more garments, or just general life stuff. You know, whatever it was this year that you wanted to kind of focus on. And I got lots of lovely responses. I really enjoyed reading everything that you were thinking of for this year. So thank you so much to everyone who did leave a comment. And I tried to get back to most of you because I was just really touched and inspired by what you had to say. I think there's a really nice collective sense of self-care and learning new things for this year in our community. So thank you to everyone who entered. And the winner is, I did a random.org drawing for the prize, and the winner is Nicole Kenyon. So congratulations, Nicole. I think I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name right, your last name. But yeah, I actually met Nicole just once, several years ago in Brooklyn when we did a meetup with a bunch of us in the New York City area in Prospect Park. So hi, Nicole, and congratulations on winning. So when you see this, go ahead and message me and I'll get this out to you. Excuse me, I'm having a little trouble here with my throat. I'm drinking this really nice tea that I think my mom said she picked up at Home Goods. It's a boxed tea. It's called, is that Telia? I love this design with the teacups. Yeah. It's kind of like my tattoo because I have a tattoo with a stack of teacups with yarn and knitting needles in it. So I naturally just love that. But this is called Serene, and it's an herbal blend of lemongrass, peppermint leaves, lavender, and chamomile. And so I like all those things, and I like tea blends that have those things in it usually, but this one I find is like really well balanced, and like you can just definitely tell that all of those things are in there without any of them being too overpowering. So yeah, I think my mom said she got this at Home Goods, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a nice bag tee. It's in those nice pyramid bags. So it's a nice one if you're looking for a good calming herbal. So I will just jump in now with my knitting projects. I do have one finished object to show you. I did finish my oracle shawl. So there it is, folded in half, and nice big pie shawl. So I was really dedicated to getting this finished, and yeah, I think I finished it just a few days after I last recorded. So it's been finished for at least a week and a half. And so this is the Oracle Shawl by my friend Kristen of Vine Yarns and the Yarngasm podcast, of course. And I used 2 of my own hand-dyed yarns, which were the green and the yellow. And those were some of my very first experiments with acid dyes, actually. And I had just bought a bag of Knit Pick Stroll Bear yarn to play around with. So I like the Stroll base. It's just a good general base to work on. It's inexpensive to try dyeing with, and it does knit up nice and soft. So I'm happy with it. And then the red was Kristen's yarn. So it was Vine on her footsie base, I believe, in her Sock Squatch colorway. And I really like how the red was very subtle in the brioche section with the yellow, and then it's nice and bold over here in the lace section. So I really like how each section of this shawl gets to kind of play with the mix of colors in a different way. So just got these nice meditative lace repeats with the brioche sections, and so it was really enjoyable. I started this while I still lived in Arizona, and it went on a knitting retreat with me with the yarn shop that I was working at the time. And I brought it on a hike with me, actually, so it got to go up in the mountains in Prescott, Arizona. And so I knit on this little hike that I took on my own. So it's imbued with nice memories. And I ran out of the red yarn, excuse me, at the very last lace row. So I had 2 more rows to do. I had the last lace row, and then I was supposed to do 1 more plain knit row. And you're at over 1,000 stitches at that point with this shawl. And so I ran out with a few inches to go of stitches. And so I ended up having, this is from Vogue Knitting Live. This is Bad Wolf Girl Studios, which was a gift from Meg, who is Bad Wolf Girl Sits and Knits. And I had picked this up from her. She brought some 50-gram samples for us to pick out. And this colorway was based on Gryffindor from Harry Potter. And so I thought, okay, well, I've got the red and yellow in there, and so I'll use that to finish off the row, or the round. And I honestly don't, I mean, I'm not gonna try to find it, but I don't think I would be able to anyway, because it was just the last couple inches of the round, and I think those stitches got sucked up into the I-cord border. So yeah, I would not be able to find it. It just really worked as a nice similar color to put in there to finish off the row. And then I just didn't do the last plain knit round because I was ready to cast off at that point. But yeah, I'm very happy with how it came out. I think the colors work really nicely together, and for this pattern, it's a little different than my normal kind of color range, but that's what I like in shawls, is to do kind of a lot of different color schemes so that they can be kind of pops in my wardrobe. And it's very pretty. I think that's about all I can say about it. I highly recommend the pattern. It is well written. It is intuitive once you get going, and or you could do the Half Moon Oracle, which is the crescent-shaped version, where it's just the half of the circle. And yeah, just very happy with it. So it was nice. I did have a little trouble blocking it because I always find that with things with lace borders that need kind of a pointed scalloped edge, I always have a little trouble getting that all blocked out, but I think that's just, I need better blocking equipment. I'm kind of wanting for some more pins and blocking wires and things like that right now, but it all worked out. I think it came out really nicely. The thing is, when I'm blocking it, I get nervous because I have to pull the points really, like they look like they're going to be super pointy, but then once it's actually dry and you pull the pins out, it's more of a subtle scalloped edge, which is what I wanted. So so that was fine. Yeah, the points were really dramatically pulled out when I was blocking it, but once it's dry, it comes out nice and scalloped, if that makes sense. So that's my oracle. And then other than that, I think the only other thing I've finished was a pair of socks for a friend of mine, which I had started and finished last week, and the week after I recorded last, and they were already gifted, so I don't have those to show off. But yeah, I've been doing some sock knitting. And as far as works in progress, I have been trying to finish this little baby sweater that I started back in Tucson. It's for a little boy that is actually the grandson of the owners of the yarn shop that I worked at out there. And so I feel really bad that this isn't finished yet, especially because there's like a narrow window in Tucson where it's going to be chilly enough for him to actually wear this, but I think it'll still fit him for the next winter season because it's for I'm knitting the 3-year-old size, so it should still fit. He's going to be a year old next month, which is just crazy to me. So I started this sweater before he was born and it's still not finished, so bad on me because I've finished other things since starting this. But anyway, it's called the Little Monster Pullover, and this is actually a Knit 1 Crochet 2 pattern and yarn. It calls for their Sebago yarn, which is discontinued, and I think the company is actually totally closed down now. So this company no longer exists. But it's a DK weight, 100% Australian superwash wool. So I think you could sub in any kind of workhorse superwash wool or a wool blend DK weight yarn to make this. I'm sure there's plenty of options there to substitute yarn for this. I will say I'm not thrilled with the pattern writing in this case. First of all, there was a little mistake in the chart for the skull repeat. There was a random white square where there wasn't supposed to be, so I just Sharpied it in, but I mean, it's not terrible, but basically I would say that you really need experience with color work and with shaping a sweater in order to kind of work around what this pattern is lacking. It does say in certain spots, as far as the shaping goes, that you can choose to either work partial motifs or just do one motif in the center of a section if there's not enough stitches to do the full motif, if this was making sense. So things like that, where it was basically like, well, you're going to have to make these decisions on your own, which I'm fine with, but even so, it leaves a lot to be desired as far as where certain things are supposed to line up for the color work. So anyway, I'll show it to you. I have the body done, and there's going to be a little button closure on one side of the shoulder, and I have one sleeve done. So for example, I chose to do just one bat in the center up here on the sleeve cap because the shaping started, and I didn't want to just have a random half bat on each side, so I just did one bat in the center on the top of the shoulder cap. So things like that, where you just have to kind of be able to make these intuitive decisions. And also, so most of the color work is done in the round for the body, but then it splits, and then the sleeves are knit flat. So you do have to do color work on both the knit side and the purl side. And the purl side with stranded color work, at least I find, is tricky. First of all, it's harder to make intuitive decisions about where the next stitches are supposed to go, because when you're on the right side, and if you're getting familiar with the charts, you can kind of see, okay, now there's a black, where the black stitches need to be for the face and things like that. But on the wrong side, it's harder to tell kind of where you are in the pattern, and it's just more difficult to maneuver the stitches in order to catch your floats on the back side. So just things like that made it fiddly, but I'm getting through it. I kind of got stuck when I had to divide for front and back and make some of those decisions about where the motifs should be, and then I finally figured it out, and I've been going along since and working on this a lot the past couple weeks to try to finish it, because I do feel bad that it's not finished yet. I'm sorry, in Tucson, if you're watching. I'm finishing it. I'm getting it there. Yeah, and then, so I had tons of ends to weave in, because I did decide to break the yarn at certain points where there were just, like, there's a few plain red rows and then plain black at the beginning of the sections. So I chose to kind of cut the yarn, the contrast yarn. Like, I could have carried the white from here up to here, but I chose to cut it and just do plain black up until I had to add in the white again, just because I didn't want to have to deal with all those floats, and it saves yarn. So yeah, it could have been neater on the back and all that stuff, but I'm getting there. I think my tension's been pretty good. There's a section, there's a part in the body that I'm a little worried about, because I can feel that I was a little tight with my color work in one of the sections, but I think it'll be okay, and I think it'll still fit for next winter season. But yeah, it's super cute. It's just been a little bit of a tricky one to kind of figure out with the pattern and its lack of clarity in some cases. But yeah, it's the little monster pullover. There's not too many projects on Ravelry, so there's not a lot of notes that have been made on it. And the other thing is, it doesn't, I don't know if I mentioned this already, but it doesn't tell you what size the sample is shown in. I always get kind of frustrated when patterns do that, where they don't tell you the sample size that they're showing. I think it's actually the same size that I'm making, except if you can see, with this version, they went up through the red section, and the way mine worked out, I think I did knit the body a little too short, although I think it'll be fine, but my neckline is ending with the black. So I chose to do a row of the skull and crossbones on the back neck, and then on the front I just finished off with plain black, because I couldn't have fit one of the motifs in on the sides in any kind of way that made sense. So I think it'll be fine. I think even though the sleeve ends on red, I think it'll look fine when it's set in there. So it's getting there. It's going to be adorable, but yeah, it's just kind of held me up at certain points. So I want to have that finished hopefully by the end of this week. I'm going to work on the other sleeve today. Other works in progress. I've really been trying to hold off on casting on new things. I'm still working on my Irving socks. I cast on the second one for those. I started a new shawl, which is so silly because I said I was going to get through some of my sweaters this year, but now it's February. It's the end of February, or it's mid-February. It's not the end of February, but it's mid-February, and I'm just thinking that I don't really want to commit to another big sweater project right now because by the time I finish it, it's going to be March, realistically, and I might still get some use out of it, but yeah, I don't want to rush through a sweater just to have it finished in time to wear it this season. And I know that just the way I want to be more organized with my projects, I would really like to swatch for a sweater, make sure it's the right measurements, really think about the size that I want to make and all that stuff that should go into making a big garment. So I just don't really want to start another big sweater right now. I think I'm more into starting one of the summer tops that I have yarn for at this point, so that I have some summer tanks and tees that I've had queued up for a while. I was not planning. I have a bunch of shawls lined up that I have yarn for that I've kind of picked out patterns for. I wasn't going to start any of those because I really don't need any more shawls right now either. But I started a new shawl because shawls are, I feel like shawls are just I don't know how to describe it. Shawls are more like an art project for me, whereas with garments it's like it's a functional part of your wardrobe, and so are shawls. I mean, shawls are very functional to me, but they're also those fun, kind of more creative projects where I really like to play with color and pattern, all that good stuff. So I was just feeling like I needed that. I really wanted some new color going on in the projects that I was working on, and so I started one. I started one that I've had queued up, and I've had in a bag with the yarn all ready to go. And yeah, I just did it. So this is a bag by the Fat Squirrel. I got this at Rhinebeck at the, I got it before Rhinebeck at the Needles Up event. It's so gorgeous. So in here, I have started the Mysteries She Wrote pattern by Suzanne Sommer. I think I'm pronouncing that somewhat correctly. So this was a mystery pattern that she did last year. It's no longer a mystery, but I have really been lusting after casting this on because it just looked like so much fun to knit. So there it is. I think this is section 1 according to when it was a mystery pattern. So this was clue 1. So it's all these syncopated brioche triangles, and the yarn I'm using, this is La Bien-Aimée, of course. Well, you know what the label looks like. There we go. So this was the Autumn à Rhinebeck. I'm probably butchering how to pronounce that in French, but it's La Bien-Aimée Merino Singles, and it was the India Untangled Rhinebeck color that they did. So it's a gray base with lots of speckles of pinks, blues, oranges, reds, lavender, just really, really beautifully done. So I actually pre-ordered this as soon as I saw it pop up on their Instagram. They had a pre-ordered for the India Untangled Trunk Show. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm saying a lot. I'm going to try to stop that. But, so I had pre-ordered this and picked it up at the trunk show. And then at the trunk show, Duck Duck Wool was there again. I bought from them 2 years ago. I absolutely love their logo and their tagline. Absolutely adorable. So this is their India Entangled colorway for Rhinebeck called Clear Skies and 100% Chance of Donuts. And this is not my normal kind of color range, but I just had to get it because it was very pretty and it was a great colorway name and it was the exclusive colorway, so I picked that up. And this is on their MCN fingering base, which is 70% superwash merino, 20% cashmere, 10% nylon, 400 yards in this game. And then the last color, which is going to be the border. So this is this shawl has this triangle section and then it has a border around it. So this is Skeiny Dipping, which is one of my favorite indie dyers, and this is her merino single in the Rhinebeck 2017 colorway. So I also got this at Indie Entangled before Rhinebeck this year. So yeah, it's these two with the brioche, and then this one as the border. And this is getting a little, it looks a little brighter than it is, but it does have that nice lighter orange mixed with darker orange, and I love this so much. As soon as she posted this, I knew it was going to be one that I got at the trunk show. So these are three kind of exclusive to Rhinebeck colorways, and they just happen to go really well together, and to also go with the bag that I also bought at Rhinebeck. So when I got all these back to the bed and breakfast that we were staying at for Rhinebeck and put them all together, I was like, oh, well, that worked out perfectly. It was not planned, but it just so happened that these three companies made colorways for Rhinebeck that go really well together. So I kind of debated, like these two together, since this has some of the orange in it, these would have looked really nice as the brioche. It would have been much more of a graphic look, like it would have been much more contrasted if I had done those two. But I didn't want to use this as the border around the whole thing, just because I like this color more than I like this color. And I didn't think that these two, like that wouldn't have, I didn't want to use those two bold colors for the brioche. So this is what I had decided on, with these two being the brioche. And I thought there would be a little bit more contrast. I thought the gray would stand out a little bit more. I don't know why I'm talking about my shawl. So yeah, there's not as much contrast as I thought there would be between these two, and because there is a lot of blue in this one, so a lot of the time the color is really blending together. I do like it. I think it looks very pretty, and I think it's nice that it's kind of subtle. This is the wrong side, and then this is the right side. It's just a little baby blue, I guess, for my normal taste. Even though okay, so I like the concept of this shawl and the kind of memory and colorway collection of them being the Indie Entangled Rhinebeck colorways from these companies. I think that's what's really driving me with wanting to put these together versus just liking the colors together, which I was debating. I've been debating the last 2 days after getting this far and looking at it. Do I really like it? Do I think I'm going to wear it? I do really like, I think the orange as the border is going to look fantastic. So it's a very pretty shawl. I just don't know if I would make these color decisions if it wasn't for the fact that they all had this story connected to them, that they were all from Rhinebeck of this past year, if that makes sense. So I'm just kind of debating with myself if it's silly to keep going with something that I'm not sure about in terms of color, but am definitely sure about in terms of the memory and the story that those colorways tell for me. Not that, it's because people aren't going to know that if I'm wearing it. It's just going to be a shawl. But for me, I like that they're all those exclusive colorways and that they all go together and that they all were from the same place at the same time. Do you do this? I know people do this with their knitting, but is it really worth it to base a shawl on that versus just purely for the colors? But I think I am going to keep this. I think the story is strong enough for me, and I do like it enough that same thing with the Oracle. Like, the Oracle's not necessarily like that was kind of based on a color palette that I wouldn't have normally gone for if it was just going purely for the yarn colors and not because I was basing it on another inspiration. So yeah, again, I like my shawls to be kind of stories and memories and ways of playing with color in different ways. So I mean, it is really pretty. It's coming out really nicely. And I actually, so this Progress Keeper I put on here because it's triangular. It's not really marking progress of anything at this point. It's just there because it's triangular, and then I used some of my triangular stitch markers because it all works together. But yeah, this is from my necklace from Bed of Roses, which I was hesitating on using any of these because I just like how they look on the necklace so much, but I was like, well, if I don't ever use it, then what's the point? So yeah, I have some of the stitch markers from the necklace on here, and then also that little Progress Keeper, and it still looks just beautiful as a necklace. So yeah, so I'm really enjoying this. It's really fun to make. It's a really fun pattern, so I highly recommend it. I might put it down now for a while, now that I've finished the first section and I've kind of gotten it out of my system to start a new thing, so I can finish up other things, but I had to start it. So I actually have on here an enamel pin from, sorry it's getting blown out, this is from Frame and Fiber, and I actually started this project at Frame and Fiber, which is a yarn and picture framing, artwork framing shop in Point Pleasant, New Jersey, which is only about half an hour from me here. Owned by Paige, who is Paige the Framer on Instagram, and you can find the shop on Facebook. And I think she's Paige the Framer on Ravelry as well. So I hung out with Paige last Wednesday. Wednesday or Thursday? No, it must have been Thursday. Or Friday? One of those. Hung out with her at the end of the last week. I've been meaning to go over there and hang out with Paige. Hi, Paige. Paige is awesome. She also has a podcast now. I think also you can find her on YouTube if you search Paige the Framer. I'll put all that in the show notes. So yeah, go check her out. She takes you on hikes while she's podcasting, and films a lot from her shop, which is really fun. So I really like the whole style of her podcast. I think it's really nice to hang out with her and see what she kind of films over the course of a week, and then edits it all together. So I'm really liking that format. So yeah, I went over there and hung out with Paige for a couple hours last week, which was really fun because I haven't been over there in a while. And her shop is gorgeous, and it's such a nice blend between the framing and the yarn. And she has legacy fiber arts yarn there, and a bunch of other really nice indie dyers. And she also sells fabric, so go check it out if you're in the area. So yeah, that's where I brought this shawl and started with the Mystery She Wrote pattern, and yeah, it was basically had some solidarity from Paige because she was in a little bit of a knitting mojo slump, and I said, yeah, I just need to start this shawl because I'm sick of all the other things. Not sick of them, just sometimes you need that extra boost of new stuff to kind of keep you going. So yeah, and I signed up for a sewing lesson at Frame and Fiber. There's a lady named Allison who sells project bags through Paige's shop. She's Daisy Lane Designs. And so I signed up for a sewing lesson with her because I have been meaning to do that for a long time. And I go tomorrow on Valentine's Day to learn how to sew. So that was my little Valentine's Day plan, was to learn how to sew with Allison. So that's going to be really fun. Get to hang out with Paige and Allison at Frame and Fiber. And the pin was designed by Leanne Capola, who won the Rhinebeck 2019 design contest. Congratulations, Leanne! I am so excited. So if you were at Rhinebeck and you saw the wall of entries for the, they always do a, what do you call it? What am I trying to say? Designers can enter a design for the logo and merchandise for the Rhinebeck Festival every year. So they always have a wall in the food building at Rhinebeck. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's the one where they have all the food and wine and stuff. And they have this wall of the entries for the design contest. And you can vote on which design then gets put on the bags and the t-shirts and the sign and like all the merchandise and stuff for the festival. Not the following year, but the next year. I think they do, yeah, they do it like a year in advance. So Leanne won for 2019. So I'm so excited because I did vote for her design because it is a VW like hippie van with sheep and llamas and alpacas all going to Rhinebeck in the VW hippie van, and there's like a spinning wheel on the roof and a bunch of yarn in the trunk. It's amazing. So I'm really excited about that. I think if you go to the New York Sheep and Wool Festival website, you can see it on there, and you can also find Leanne on Instagram. I'll put her information in the show notes. So I'm so excited because it's awesome, and Leanne's just killing it right now, basically. She also designed my logo for my hand-dyed yarn company, which I haven't showed you yet, and I'm still waiting to reveal that. But I have news. Things might change a little bit in terms of my own business plan. So yeah, I think, let's see. I think it might be time to announce that because I think I've shown you everything. So I've tried to explain this a little bit in previous episodes, but just to recap, I have been back in New Jersey since October. I had been living in Tucson, Arizona for a year, so I was there from September 2016 to September 2017. It was basically a year to the day that I had moved out there, and then started making the decision to move back. And I had moved out there with a boyfriend, and then our relationship didn't work out. But while I was out there, I was working at a yarn shop called Grandma's Spinning Wheel, where I had started going just to go to their knit nights, and they ended up needing some extra help. So I started working there and found out that I really enjoyed it. I really liked working at a yarn shop and teaching knitting lessons, and it was basically a dream come true in a lot of ways. And once our relationship didn't work out, I did make the decision to move back to the East Coast for a lot of reasons. Family, missed New York City, yeah, just a lot of reasons. It was tough to be out there and be going through a breakup and not be close to family and that kind of stuff. So I made the decision to move back to New Jersey, and I've been staying with my parents, which is where I am now, and have been looking for a job since October. I've applied to a few things, considered going back to school, didn't really know what was next, what I was going to be doing. And last week, the beginning of last week, yeah, Monday, I think it was either Sunday or Monday, I got news from a friend that there was a job opening at Brooklyn General Store, which is a yarn and fabric shop in the Carroll Gardens neighborhood of Brooklyn. And I actually hadn't been to that one yet. I've sent friends there. I've recommended it to people, but hadn't actually been. I just knew that it was a great shop, and it just hasn't been one that I had the chance to get to yet. But anyway, yeah. So I was recommended to apply to that position and made arrangements with the owner, who is Catherine Clark. She actually has an interview with Christy Glass on YouTube. So if you look up Christy Glass Brooklyn General Store, there's a great interview with Catherine Clark, the owner of the shop. And so I had an interview on last Wednesday, and Catherine got back to me on Friday and offered me the job. So I accepted the job. So I will be working at Brooklyn General Store. I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely so thrilled and so excited to get started there. I'm going to start on this Friday, so in a few days. And yeah, it's crazy. It all came together really quickly, and it's going to be I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be really fun. I think it's perfect for me right now in terms of I have the experience, because I got the experience working at the shop in Tucson. So it's a good blend of my experience plus all the new stuff. Like I'm learning to sew tomorrow. I got my butt in gear to take a sewing lesson this week, because they do sell fabric at Brooklyn General, and they sell sewing machines and all that good stuff. So I need to have some sewing skills, at least rudimentary ones, to begin with. So yeah, I'm pumped. I'm so excited. I think it's just gonna be awesome, and it feels really right for me. Just where I'm at right now, where I want to be in the industry, where I want to be geographically. I mean, I've been going into the city fairly often since I've been home, because that's where my friends are. So, and that's where a lot of the events that I'm interested in going to have been. So, I will be there Saturdays through Mondays usually. So I'll be in the city for the weekend. So I'm really excited. My living situation is going to be a little interesting for the first couple months at least. I don't have a direct plan to move there yet, because I have to save up money and figure out if I can find a place that is that I can afford. I mean, obviously New York City is very expensive, so I'll be keeping my eye out for living arrangements. But I have a situation right now that will work out and allow me to go in for the weekends and stay there so that I can work the weekends, and then I'll probably do a little bit of commuting back here to New Jersey for part of the week for now. So that does leave me a little up in the air about what I want to do with my yarn dyeing. I still want to be doing that, and I've really been missing dyeing, because just with everything else, this past week I haven't been in there, and we do have an electrician coming to kind of get the power situation better, so that I can plug in more hot plates than I can right now. But yeah, so I definitely want to still be dyeing yarn, but it's going to be a tight schedule to try to fit that in with working in Brooklyn for most of the week. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to try to fit it in once I get my schedule settled in and all that stuff. I'm being very rambly, but I'm just that excited about this. What else? Yeah, that's going to happen, and I would not have been able to do it without this community. My friend recommended me. I'm not going to mention names because it's, but you know who you are, so thank you so much. I am eternally grateful for the way that this worked out. And yeah, the community of knitting and yarn and craft is helping me in being able to do this thing where I'm going into the city part of the week and staying there with friends and making this all happen. So I'm just, yeah, it's the best. It's the best to feel like I've earned this job, that this is what I've been working towards in my own way, and it's something I really want to be doing, and it's just coming together in a way that things are starting to make sense for my path, I guess, if that's, for lack of a better word or a way to explain it. I've been talking to Jenny, who is Tiny Paper Foxes. We talked at Rhinebeck just briefly because it was such a rush at Rhinebeck, but I got to see Jenny and Devin, who now live in Vermont, and they were in New York for Rhinebeck. And Jenny said something that kind of really has stuck with me, which was that eventually the whole year in Tucson will make sense, because it was obviously very disappointing to move out there and to think that I was going to be living out there, and then it didn't work out and I moved back, and that kind of threw a lot of things into a weird perspective for me. Like, how do I make this make sense in terms of why I moved out there and what it did for me as far as, just being a part of my life. So I definitely didn't want to regret the year. I didn't want to regret moving out there, because a lot happened and it was a good experience in a lot of ways, and it was an adventure. It was something I really felt like I wanted to do. So obviously I didn't want to regret moving so far away, even though the reason I moved out there didn't end up working out. So yeah, Jenny had said something like, well, it'll make sense eventually. It might not make sense right now, but eventually there will be something that happens that brings it into perspective and makes it kind of an essential part of the story of like my jobs and my life and my path. So I think this is coming together now. I would not be able to get this job if I hadn't had the experience of working at the shop out in Tucson. And they were a very good reference for me for Catherine to call, and they gave me a great recommendation for her to hire me. So none of this could have happened without that year, without that experience that I had, without all the connections that I've made through this community and through my crafting. So it just feels really good that it's all coming together, and I feel very whole about it. Like I've had this anxiety the past several years. I have general social anxiety anyway, but just life anxiety of like, what am I doing? What am I supposed to be doing? What do I want to do? Why does it seem like everybody else is doing what they want to do? I mean, I know everybody has their own thoughts about this, but it's hard not to compare your life to other people's and to wonder how yours is going to shape up into what you want it to be. So I've had this really kind of underlying anxiety for the past couple years of, I don't feel like I am there yet as far as I feel good. I'm doing something really great. I've had a lot of really good experiences, but it just hasn't all seemed to come together yet. And now it really is. And I feel really whole and good about it and excited, and like I'm really making this into what I want it to be for myself. So I'm just really excited. I'm rambling a ton about it, but I'm absolutely thrilled. And I think it's going to be a good thing. So that's my big news. If you are in the New York City area, I will be there on weekends. I will be at Brooklyn General Store in the Carroll Gardens neighborhood, and it's just the perfect shop. It's literally in an old general store, so it's all the original shelving with the rolling wooden ladders, and Catherine puts together just everything she carries is just lovely. So while I was there for the interview, I didn't buy yarn because I'm still trying to kind of cut down on stashing for now. But now that I'm going to be working there, I don't know how long that's going to last. But I did pick up the new Taproot magazine. This is issue 25, Hearth, and it's a gorgeous issue. This is the first Taproot I've ever actually had in my possession. I'm really enjoying it. I think I'll have to start getting this one more often. But there's some really beautiful stories and recipes and articles in here, so highly recommend that. And it's inexpensive. It was $12. Yeah, I think that's the list price. Really, I think inexpensive for what you're getting in this magazine. So that's what I picked up there. I'm sure I'll have other goodies to show. I'm sure I will shop there. Hopefully not as much as I work there, but I will be shopping there. So yeah, that's going to happen on Friday. So it's going to be a big change, but it's very exciting. And I can't wait to talk about it. So, yeah, good things. So I will let you go. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed some knitting while you watched, and I will talk to you next time, and that will be after I start my new job. So, yeah. Thanks everyone, and happy knitting. Bye.